We are now live.
Sweet.
There we go. Everything looks okay. I don't know if chat's gonna work. I hope. Cause the chat is on the overlay now. Hopefully
Oh
that's
yeah.
still linked. um, yeah. Rob is here.
Rob's here already.
Yes, and the chat is working. Okay, cool. Awesome.
There we go.
Hey, Rob.
Hi Rob, how are you? Yeah, Rob, I'm anxious to hear what everybody thinks. I mean, I've seen a ton of stuff on Twitter and some other sites, and I want to hear people's like real thoughts, especially like a day after. I feel like if we would have done this yesterday, it would have been a very um, different kind of vibe, much more raw. Because everybody's had a little bit of time to process it, maybe watch it a few times. So, see what people think.
I guess before we get started, what have you watched any Star Trek, or have you just been Discovery took over everything?
This week I haven't watched like during the week. Last weekend I watched. What did I watch? I watched beginning of season 3 of Voyager, like the first 5 episodes. I want to say maybe 6,
Okay.
and first 3 or 4 DS9 season 5 episodes. Um, so I watched like Basics Part 2 and Flashback, The
Yeah.
Shoot,
Yeah.
um, like that run.
Yeah.
Um, Remember, which I think is really good, kind of underrated. Um, like from Deep Space Nine, I think the best one I watched, my favorite of the ones I watched, was The Ship. Um, what about you? Where are you in your
So
Enterprise?
also, I'm with Rob. I started from the beginning, but I'm kind of chugging along. These run up episodes, I've been really enjoying them. They haven't been like standout. I mean, the only standout one for me was Dear Doctor.
Yeah,
Um,
that's my favorite from the season, from that
yeah,
whole season.
it
Really,
was a
really great.
really good episode. It was kind of hinting to the Prime Directive and stuff like that.
Yep,
But yeah, Sleeping Dogs, Shadow of Gem, and Shuttlepod One, all just fun episodes for
pretty good
sure.
run.
Yeah,
Yeah, Shut Upon One especially, I think is really good. I think that's right. It's not, I don't like it as much as Dear Doctor. Like it's not quite that high
hmm
like on my ranking, but it's up there. I think Shuttlepod One's pretty kind of unique and very specific to Enterprise.
yeah,
Like it's a story that wouldn't play out that way in any of the other
hmm
shows.
yeah,
Um, Takes advantage of the concept of the show.
yeah.
I think the actors are really good. Um, Rob bought all the TOS and TNG movies today, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Never a bad. There's no such thing as a bad excuse to watch them. Um, he loves the Andorians in season
Yeah,
one.
I like it when they, especially they mess with lighting and stuff like that. Especially in
Yeah,
Shadows of a Gem, where he just walks in and you can just see
the antenna.
antennas. Oh, I was just
Yeah,
like, oh yes, that's awesome. I love
really
the
cool.
produce. Yeah.
Yep. Jeffrey Combs as Shran is awesome. He steals every scene he's in.
Yeah, he
Uh,
does.
he's really great. Um, Rob, overall, like, is there an episode or um, a character, something that stands out to you in the beginning of Enterprise that's really working for you besides the Andorians, which is no disrespect at all. The Andorians are awesome, but that's a pretty standard. Everybody thinks that. The Andorians, even people who don't like Enterprise, tend to think the Andorians are like the one thing about it that's good. So curious, what else? Like anything else stand out to you? And same question to you, Dan. Like aside from the episodes you kind of named, is there a character? Is there a thing? Something about it?
Um, I think the only thing I've noticed is just the characters are kind of settling in, just like with
Mm-hmm.
any rewatch. I just notice, especially at the beginning, like characters do need time to
Yeah.
settle in for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep,
Oh, okay, Rob, you're early on.
yeah.
Um, you'll definitely have to keep us in the loop. You know, uh, if you come to these or tweet as you go, however you want to do it. Definitely interested in your thoughts. Enterprise always intrigues me.
Hmm.
Um, so before we really get into this, I think one thing that's important to note is that Dan and I have basically not talked about this at all yet. Um, one pretty quick exchange, like right when it happened, and then beyond that, we kind of made a conscious decision not to talk about what we saw, what we thought. Um, so I don't know what Dan's going to say.
Yeah, because we kind of wanted to save it for you guys, even if you're watching this later on. We just kind of wanted to keep it fresh, for sure. And I also have kind of limited me personally just reading what other people think, um, because I want to kind of keep my opinion mine, so I can kind of not be swayed in either direction. So this is definitely a live, uncut, off the cuff discussion for you guys. So we're really excited.
Yeah, I know I am. I'm curious to hear what you said, what you think, Dan, and um, just curious about everybody else. I want to hear as many takes as possible. I have been pretty tuned into the kind of stuff I've been seeing on Twitter and stuff. But like I said, I think a day later, maybe people are um, calming down a little bit, either coming down to earth or um, just settling into what they're thinking, and maybe having the opportunity to see it a couple different times and removed from the oh my gosh initial reaction um, is always good. So,
Hmm.
so you want to start, Dan? Like, what's
You,
your?
before we start, do you want
Mhm.
to do an intro or do you just want to just jump into it?
Let's just jump into it.
Okay, let's just jump into it because Nick just got here and
Nick got here.
yeah. So
So about that trailer, Nick.
yeah, that's the big question around here.
Indeed.
Yep. I guess I'll just start off with my initial thoughts, not like going in too deep, but there's something else I'd like to, because this is kind of the first time I've had to experience like a new show like this coming out. So
Hmm.
this is like it was like a whole new, um, territory for me to explore. Like I got to see how people were reacting and like how I don't know. It was just all new for me. I just especially like I forget when it came out, like around 1:30. I was just kept refreshing my Twitter, and I was looking for places to watch the
Me too.
CBS broadcast. But I don't know. It was just fun to be. It was just fun to be experiencing that with other fans and a lot of people excited and refreshing my Twitter page 20 times and stuff like that. So it was different for me. I've never kind of experienced that. I'm kind of glad I got to because now I know, what all the craze is about. So
Yeah, I'm totally on the same page. I mean, I experienced like the beginning of Enterprise. I was pretty tuned in to what was available then when
mhm.
Enterprise was ramping up, but it was certainly not to this extent. Twitter and social media certainly, for better or worse, offer the opportunity to have like those real time reactions with people, and um, yeah, it was certainly interesting and it was exciting. It makes it more exciting. I had the same kind of experience with. I remember the night that the Beyond event at Paramount happened, and they like, released the trailer and some behind the scenes stuff, and I kind of did the same thing that you kind of described, and I did yesterday with like watching everything I could get my hands on the internet, trying to follow along and see what came out, and that's really cool
Yeah,
to be like really tuned into the stuff as it's happening, as it's coming out, and to get to share it with other people. Um,
yeah. I had the same experience with the movies too, but it was just seemed a little bit different for a show, I
yeah,
guess.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So Dan, what was your like initial takeaway? What did you? What was your
Um,
vibe coming away from
it sure looks pretty. That's kind of what I came out
it?
like. Wow, this they kind of upped the production value for sure.
Yes,
It looks a lot like the Kelvin timeline.
it does.
And I'm sure Nick has a few things to say about that. But I like it. I think it was a good trailer. It's foreshadowed some stuff, but also left us wondering. I think it did a pretty good job. So, what are your overall thoughts of it?
um, it's certainly I kind of expected it. A lot of what I read leading up to it, different things people said, actors who were involved with it, the writers who were on Twitter and have done interviews, they've pretty well hinted at that it's going to be cinematic, bigger, on a different kind of scale than the Star Trek TV that we've come to know. More in line with big premium television shows of today. Um, so I kind of had that idea going into it. I was expecting it to attempt to resemble those kinds of shows, the Game of Thrones of the world,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's kind of what they accomplished as far as I'm concerned. It's big. It's really big. It's certainly it's cinematic, and because of the fact that it's so cinematic, it does resemble the Kelvin timeline stuff because that's the only Trek that we've had that comes from this day and age. I think it certainly does borrow from some of the visual cues. I think um, the sort of vibrant camera motions, and
Yeah,
Dan can certainly speak to these things better than I
yeah, the
can.
quick
Um,
cuts and stuff like that.
quick cuts.
Yeah,
Now, part of me says, pump the brakes. Let's see how it actually plays out. We watched a trailer, not the episode. So,
mm-hmm.
as far as the way it's cut and the way that it's presented, it's a trailer. It's not. Who knows what it's going to feel like and be paced like, and um, how it's all going to work together.
Yeah. I think it's good for all of us. I mean, even me. I feel like I have to do this, but I think it's all of us to just kind of take a deep breath.
Yeah,
Just a trailer. Let's just see where it goes instead of going crazy.
yeah, and I think I think it's very obvious that they weren't kidding when they said they were going to take a different approach. I got it, it feels really different, but in a way that I'm totally receptive to. I'm not opposed to Star Trek taking a different angle, on the way it tells stories. Bigger is okay. Star Trek has to evolve, I think, to survive, and I think it would be a mistake to box themselves into needing to be too in keeping with the shows that have come before.
Hmm.
And I was glad to see that it really does look to be new, and I I think it'll grow on people. I don't want to say that people are overreacting. I appreciate a lot of what people are saying. I'm reading your comments, everybody, Nick, especially because you have strong feelings, and I hear what you're saying. I'll get into my thoughts on some of the things specifically in a bit, but I just think it's really important to take a deep breath, like Dan said, let it play out a little bit. Don't jump to too many conclusions about the trailer, and let's see what it is. We got a 2.5 minute sample of some really cool visuals, some new looking stuff. They certainly did. They weren't afraid to change certain things a little bit, and I kind of knew that coming in, and I'm fine with most of it. And I think it's going to grow on people. I think Star Trek fans are notoriously resistant to new and change. And I think in time, especially if it's good, it's got to be good. That's first and foremost. It's got to be good, true. It's got to be quality television first and foremost, but it's got to be good Star Trek for it to survive. And if it is those things, anything that you got from the trailer that's visual and may rub you the wrong way, I think will be easier to swallow as time goes on. But I guess that's like a broad, I don't know, without getting into like specific, this shot, that shot, this, specific thing, this specific species. I guess the elephant in the room is, Dan specifically, what does the look of the Klingons bother you?
I wrote down ridges, question mark.
Mhm.
And I know that gets fuzzy, especially with Enterprise and then TOS and now this. We kind of talked about this kind of before in past episodes, but I don't think the look bothers me.
Mhm.
What I've liked to see in classic, Klingons would love to.
Sure.
But I'm not. The Klingon thing is not going to ruin the show. I
Right.
didn't mind them, so I'm excited to see kind of their take on the Klingons. They're probably my favorite alien species, so I kind of have like a
Mhm.
soft spot for them. So I don't want to see them, very too far from what they've gone, but
Right.
I didn't mind the look. I guess I'm trying to say. What about you?
Me neither. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that what little I know, and I know nothing really.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing confirmed. But if you follow a lot of this as it's been playing out and through yesterday, it seems pretty clear that these are not just run-of-the-mill Klingons. They didn't find a Klingon ship that is just a Klingon ship. There's this ship that was designed very early on. One of the first things we saw having to do with Discovery was this conceptual drawing of a Klingon sarcophagus ship. And everything that we saw in the trailer would seem to indicate that is what it is. I don't know if they're going to call it that, but there's a definitive look to it that indicates that these are not your run-of-the-mill Klingons. So there may very well be some sort of explanation for why these guys may look a little different. And I'm open to that, and I'm open to there not really being an explanation too. I think what Nick said about being more culture than look is 100% the case, because the Klingon look has changed numerous times over the 50 years.
Yeah, it's got
sometimes more. Yeah, as long as they're consistent. And to be honest, the culture of the Klingons changed too. The Klingons in the majority of TOS do not resemble the Klingons in any other iteration of Star Trek. So,
But we accept it now because
but we accept it. You can do your reasoning in your head about why that is, and that's why everyone is speaking Klingon-y, right? Yeah, the Klingons have changed considerably over the 50 years, mostly from TOS and beyond. Immediately into the motion picture, they look different. They're presented differently, and as time went on, through the motion picture and beyond the motion picture, they continued to be refined and updated and cleaned up. I guess the look certainly evolved, and so did the culture. So as long as they're fairly consistent and they're serving the story, I'm down. I am open to, and I really do trust the people that are behind the scenes on it. Everything I see on Twitter from the people who are active on Twitter that are working on the show tells me that these guys are seriously legitimate fans. I mean, the supervising producer, Ted Sullivan, is one of the best followers on Twitter if you like Star Trek.
Yeah, that's so funny.
He walks around with a little Gorn doll and puts him in photo poses and uses and has deep cut references. He knows his Trek. And there are others as well. That's just the guy that comes to mind immediately. But I follow a lot of them, and I get nothing but positive vibes from them. I don't think they're going to depart from what we know drastically without reason. I think things will be updated and new, and there may be some things that we have to get used to and differences in the way things are looking and feeling, but I think it's going to be true to Trek, and I think we'll get used to it quicker than we think if we have open minds, I guess is.
Yeah, and I choose to believe in Discovery and not hate on it. Because,
yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. I want to. I'm excited for it, and I want to see it. I want to see it succeed. And to be honest, the almost as positive for me as the trailer itself. Because I love the trailer. I really did. I got excited. I know, Nick, you did not have that reaction, and a lot of people didn't. I mean, there's a lot of people on Twitter who are in your camp. I've seen YouTube videos. I've seen people on Twitter. I've seen people in forums that have the exact reaction that you have had. So you are not alone. But something that gave me great confidence beyond the trailer itself was the announcement that they upped the season from 13 to 15 episodes. That tells me that they're fairly confident in it. That's more money they're spending. There's more resources being spent. That tells me that they're confident that it's working. I don't think they'd add episodes if they thought it was a sinking ship. And
and I think that's something we should touch on right now, is because kind of Nick alluded to a little bit before. He talked about how, with this, we can tell that it has a high production value. So how are they going to keep up with? And I think that's what Nick's worried about. I'm worried about it too, because Star Trek has had a history of being in trouble with funds and stuff. But I think if it was, let's say they, did a normal 24, whatever, in the 20s long season, with this production value, they'd probably go bankrupt. But I think what helps they them out with that is having the 15 episode season. So I think that's going to be a plus for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Rob, just to clarify, you do not have a paywall. Your paywall is you have to be subscribed to Netflix. But us over here in the United States have to subscribe to CBS's not really new, it's been around, but they're newly producing original content app, CBS All Access, to get it legally. So. And I hear you, Nick. That is going to be a big bugaboo for a lot of people. The thing that gives me, again, confidence is, I'm not really worried that low subscription numbers is going to hurt the show, because by all accounts, I can't cite an exact article, but if you go back to Trek Core, and you dig back, the CBS heads, I want to say quite a while ago indicated that because Netflix is distributing it everywhere else, there was a pretty big transaction that was made, and Netflix is highly involved in the show. They have a stake in it because it's their show to distribute everywhere but the United States and Canada. So there are funds coming from Netflix. It's not completely dependent on how many people pay legally for CBS All Access, and that gives me some hope. I would be really worried if the only way you could get this thing was through CBS All Access anywhere in the world. I think we'd be, first off, I don't think it would look like it looked in the trailer. I think the reason that it can look the way it looks, partially, yeah, it's 15 episodes instead of 26 or 24, but part of it is that it's partially being funded by Netflix and partially being funded by CBS.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if we kind of look back on history, like especially with Enterprise, like they didn't have the most solid kind of distribution deal with their networks and stuff like that. So it just makes me, because they kind of talked about this in Warp 5 too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Warp 5, the Trek FM
Enterprise podcast.
Yeah. That I just think that having just an already solidified distribution deal with Netflix, I think just already helps the show. So I'm glad that they have that for sure instead of just CBS All Access, like you said.
This is purely me speculating, and I have no reason to be. I may be 100% wrong, but I think there's a better chance of CBS All Access not doing well and them deciding that it's not worth putting it on CBS All Access and it being, I think there's a better chance of it going to Netflix if it's good. If CBS All Access fails and the show is doing well everywhere, it's well received, it's popular, it's making money because Netflix is doing well with it. I think there's a better chance that it winds up on Netflix here than it goes away because CBS All Access goes down with it. Again, I don't know, but I have some faith that the Netflix dynamic is going to help a lot. So, Netflix, CBS, the best play for the Discovery Industry. And I agree, Nick. I think it will. At first, I think it'll do really well. I think it's gonna be huge. The premiere, I don't know. If, by all accounts, the premiere is 2 parts. I don't know if that means 2 hours, like the other premieres have been in the past, like a 2-hour put together, or an hour here, an hour there next week. But the first hour at least is going to be on CBS. They're going to tease people by doing that, and then I guess at the end saying, "You want to see next week? Cough up your $5.99, $6.99 a month." So that premiere is going to be huge. It's going to do really well, and
all else fails.
A Borg episode. No, thank you. You want to see people freak out and have their heads explode? That would do it. That would do it. I really don't think we're going to see stuff like that. I really think that the people that are behind the scenes, people that are writing the show, are not, by all indications, are not network heads that are just, half-assing it. I think they're really legitimate Star Trek fans working on this. I think they know the canon. I think they know the timeline. Everything that they've presented on social media has indicated that, and I have no reason to doubt it. I haven't seen any of these guys interviewed like in video form or anything like that. Like none of that stuff's come out or anything, but they're very active on Twitter, and they seem genuinely invested in Star Trek, not just Discovery. So these are the kinds of things that just give me a lot of confidence. I think it's.
I think it was just, I was worried that it was just another CBS ploy to kind of just make some more money and squeeze some more money out of the franchise. But
sure.
I think, I was worried they were just going to, kind of just throw it together. But it seems like they have spent a significant amount of time brought in the right people, and spent a lot of money and resources on it. So I think that's good. They're not messing around with it.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, Nick. I'm hoping that future promotional material, additional trailers, other things that we see, will shed better light on the writing, the dialogue, the I don't I think it's I'm not entirely surprised that in the first trailer we didn't get a lot of that kind of stuff. Um, this is designed to, I'm not trying to lecture, I'm just saying that I think it's fair to say that this is designed to get people to react. And the visual stuff is going to be the first thing that they go to. It's and they don't want to give away, and I don't blame them. I don't want to know. I do want to know, but it's best that I don't know uh, character details yet and story stuff. Like I don't really want to know that yet. If they put it out there, yeah, I'm going to read it and I'm going to watch it if they put it out. But I'd rather be surprised. So this is just a taste. It's not. And if it is a special effect circle jerk, people aren't going to be real happy, and I'll be among them. My hope is that it's going to be more than that, and I choose to have faith in the people that are doing it, and yeah. Does the trailer show a lot of those things? No, but I think enough of it's implied. I think they did a really nice job of. I guess we can talk about this now. I think the trailer did a really nice job of kind of teasing this main character a little bit. I think there's some depth there that we can kind of already um, assume. It seems pretty evident that this character was either born on or raised on Vulcan. Had some upbringing on Vulcan and was othered as a result by her peers growing up. That's what I took away from it. That's the vibe that I got, and it seems to be the vibe others have gotten as well.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. If her character arc is overcoming that kind of upbringing and having to learn to be more accepting and open-minded and more Roddenberry, in the face of what she experienced growing up on Vulcan. That's awesome. If that's what it is and it's well done, sign me up. I think that's going to be great. I think that's perfect for what this show should be. Is that basically the vibe you got too, Dan? Like, did you come away thinking?
Yeah, that's what I just came away. I thought exactly what you said. Like she was. I don't know. There's some cross cultural interactions going on. That's all
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
Um,
clear.
yeah, which is really has been done in Star Trek a lot. So I'm glad that they
Yeah,
did that for sure.
that's what I took away. Like I appreciated it because it's in keeping with things that we've seen and
Mm-hmm.
that are really constants in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
It really has always been in every show. There is that element. It's about people who rise above difficult circumstances
Yeah,
and
Worf
you
in
know
TNG and
yep.
B'Elanna in
Voyager,
Voyager.
Odo in Deep Space Nine,
Yeah, exactly.
Kira in Deep Space Nine, like these
So I
these
was,
these
yeah,
constants.
yeah, I was really kind of excited to see that. Um, and I know a lot of people have been talking about it, but
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah, and I love what I've seen out of the cast. A big percentage of the cast wasn't seen in this trailer because I think that's the other thing. By all indications, this trailer is taking from a pretty small sample size. I think there's a lot more to this story and where this show is going than what you saw. This is from the pilot episode. It seems to me. Um, it's it's a small sample size, and I yeah The
No, we haven't. We haven't seen the Discovery yet, right?
not really. No,
No,
no.
that was the Shinzu.
Shinzu, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and there's like screen grabs. If you guys follow Trek Core on Twitter, he's got great, or I don't know who runs it, but they've got great screen grabs of the Shinzu.
yeah. That's a good theory, Jordan. There's going to be something with the Discovery. My theory, for all it's worth, was my brain immediately went to, this in the pilot. They clearly get into some big trouble with these Klingons, and maybe things don't go real well, and they need to be rescued, and maybe the Shenzhou doesn't survive the encounter, and the Discovery comes and picks up everybody who lived to see the next day. Who knows? But it could be anything, and I'm guilty of trying to speculate and trying to figure it out, and that's fun. But who knows? It could be. It's probably nothing that we're guessing. Um,
Yeah.
so the one we saw. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm just responding to Ian, who's the ship that we saw months ago, like in the very first teaser, was evidently the Discovery. That was the Discovery. You see
Yeah.
it on the hull. Um,
The more
what
Miranda
we
class
saw,
looking one
yeah,
is
the
Shinzu.
Shinzu.
And Rob's kind of pointing out the bridge underneath the ship. Love that idea. A lot of people
Yes,
were like, "Oh, that's not," I don't know. I just like to see different takes
sure, me too.
of ship design. So I actually thought that was really cool for sure.
Wonder how big the ships are. Um,
I'm guessing smaller sized.
if they're trying to be prime timeline, I would
Yeah.
imagine they're going to be smaller. Um, if they get real big, like Kelvin, people are going to freak.
Hmm.
And that kind of stuff doesn't bother me nearly as much, but um, it will bother many people. Um, they do look similar, Ian.
Yeah.
I mean, I grant you
Similar.
that
They do
they
look
have a
similar.
yeah, they have a similar visual vibe to them. Um, but there's definitely two ships that play into at least the beginning of the show.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's going to be two ships throughout or what, but there's going to be two at some point early on. Jordan's asking, what are our canonical no
No
goes?
goes. I
For
mean, I don't.
me, go
Yeah.
ahead,
Go
Dan.
ahead.
You go first.
Okay. I don't
No.
want it to see it turn into kind of an actiony type, just strictly actiony type. I like to see like the original kind of Roddenberry feel of
Yeah.
I don't know, exploring and dealing with difficult issues and stuff like not just strictly action and adventure. I like to a little bit deeper, for sure, and that just goes for like just like story and stuff. What about you?
For me, like the canon, uh, I'm much more concerned with. I would react far more violently to story issues than visual issues. Um, the crew running into and running face to face with Romulans, like Jordan's pointing out, that would bother me because that's pretty clearly laid out in in Balance of Terror that hadn't happened before. Um, you know, the Borg, running into the Borg and identifying them as the Borg and living to see it, living to tell the tale would bother me. Things like that. Don't get lazy and bring in alien species just because they're cool and people know what they are, and ignore the story that's been told prior. That bothers me. I don't think they'll do it, and that's what would bug me. The uniforms looking a little different doesn't really bother me. It,
I
speaking of
love
which,
I don't know, I love the uniforms. Like
I do too.
I
I
I
want
love
one.
them because they're kind of yeah I want one too because they're kind of a throwback to Enterprise with the blue.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I was like, I mean, it's not like exactly the same color, but I love that they have blue uniforms. probably was one of my favorite parts of the trailer was the uniforms,
Mhm.
because I thought they were awesome.
And
So
I saw someone point out on Twitter with picture backup that it's not exact. There's some flipping going on, but the color palette is the exact color palette of the cage. It's blue, it's silver, and it's gold, and it's like bronze. That's in the cage. The silver is seen more on like the com badge. Not that it's a bat like not a TNG com badge.
mm-hmm.
The logo, whatever you want to call it, and the rank stripes and the jacket that they wear. Um, but instead of red, it's bronze. It's gold, blue, and bronze. Um, I think that's pretty cool that they're kind of harkening back to that. And at first I thought when I first saw the uniform, I my initial reaction was I don't think they're visually um, different enough. But when I go back and look at the trailer multiple times and I see the mesh under the arms and around the back, like they kind of are if you look at them.
Mm-hmm.
The com badge is different color depending on their division, I guess. They did not have rank pips until Next Generation, but there are rank pips in Enterprise, so
Yeah.
it's all over the place. And that's the thing. Like I love the canon. I love it fitting as much as possible, but let's not kid ourselves and think that it's an exact perfect line where nothing was ever changed. Gene Roddenberry himself changed a lot the minute he had money to play with in the motion picture. TOS looked like TOS until he had money to throw at the screen with a movie. And in the motion picture, he completely changed the look of everything.
And I think
So
even the past shows have had little um, mess ups like that. So I think it's
mhm,
like, especially the little stuff, we can't be too hard on it.
right,
But yeah, just like we're saying, definitely don't go no goes on like making huge changes to the timeline. Definitely respect it, for sure.
yeah, it's the story stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I think is important to
Yeah.
stay true to. Don't bring in things that are clearly laid out as they're not there. Don't have the technology do things that is pretty clearly laid out it can't do.
Yeah.
At that point in time, that's the kind of stuff that would bother me more than visual cues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Diverse crew on the Shinzo. There's a robot-looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's Data, like really early on Data.
yeah. Who knows? Maybe it's a guy with a helmet.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. He's probably some sort of a robot, android,
Yeah. Yeah.
primitive, plugged into the ship kind of thing. But we don't know for sure. We'll find out. Cool blue guy. I think Doug Jones alien, the alien that Doug Jones is playing, that we get a little bit of dialogue from,
Mm-hmm.
looks freaking awesome. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I thought because of the types of characters he's played in the past, and I'm not like a Doug Jones expert. I know a lot of people love him to death and know all his stuff. I don't. I know who he is, and I know a lot of his stuff is really kind of hidden. Like he's just doing it with body language and the way he moves, and and that's kind of what I was expecting out of this character. I thought it was going to be like very CG, very very behind a mask, and I'm really cool. I was really pleasantly surprised that he's expressive. That you see his face. Like he gets to act. He gets to perform with his face, not just he's not just a guy with nothing. It's I really liked him a lot.
Yeah.
Um, he senses death. That sounds like a plot contrivance.
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, maybe, but let's see how it plays out. We don't know. I mean, it's just a line. We got to see how it plays out. Um, Freaking awesome women. I couldn't agree more. I think Michelle Yeoh is awesome. I haven't seen a ton of her movies, but everything I've seen her in, I think she's great. She has real gravitas. She brings real weight. and I think she was the perfect choice for a captain. I think she's great. And immediately in the trailer, I buy her. She is a captain.
Yeah.
Who knows how long she'll last? Like, I don't know. Who knows? Um,
uh,
I hope she does because I think she's awesome. But and the main character Burnham, the woman from The Walking Dead, I think she's awesome right off the bat. I'm on board with these actors.
yeah, because
But
I'm curious to see how she kind of, because I've never seen her in this type of role, because I've always seen her on like, say, like Walking Dead or New Girl, and it's just like, I don't
yeah,
know, it's hard for me to imagine her in a uniform, but I think she does a pretty good job so far.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And one thing that I came away, I was thinking about this today. You know, I'm really getting excited about the idea of seeing the show through the eyes of not the captain. You know, seeing it through the eyes of a first officer who, you know, doesn't have all the answers, isn't seasoned to the point where they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's going to bring a real different um, dramatic dynamic to the show that we haven't really seen. I mean, we've seen it because we've talked about before. You know, these other shows are largely really ensemble casts. It's not like it's strictly a Picard show in TNG or strictly a Cisco show in Deep Space Nine. You know, it's not a foreign idea to really focus in on characters who are not the captain.
Mm-hmm.
But I did get the distinct impression from this trailer that the story of this show is going to be pretty driven by this character. Who knows? I mean, but I was really excited by the possibilities of focusing on a character that is still learning, you know, is still developing, and isn't Picard or Janeway. And
And she's not, she's not just exploring like space and stuff. She's like exploring like, I don't know what's gonna happen in a storyline, but she's exploring new, maybe she gets a command or
mm-hmm.
leadership and stuff like that. So it seems like there's just more elements than just exploration. There's exploration of, I don't know, different
Yeah,
areas. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. The new guys, Oracle and PJ Marr. I don't think we've seen you guys before, and that's awesome. Welcome.
Yeah. Welcome
First
to
off,
Tech Lab, guys.
and the other thing I would ask is if you guys are active on Twitter, if I would know who you are, if you respond to me or interact with me at all, what's your Twitter handle, just so I know who I'm talking to. I'm interested. And if not, that's even cooler, you know.
Yeah.
But Oracle's asking about our thoughts on the Klingons. We did kind of talk about that, but to summarize, we're both pretty on board with it. You know, it's a big topic.
Got people riled up for sure.
Yeah. To sum up, I guess I would say that as long as they're culturally consistent and it's dramatically interesting, and like I also said, I think we're not looking at run-in-the-mill Klingons. I don't think they just found a 23rd century battle cruiser and stumbled upon Klingons that are just hanging out doing their thing in the 23rd century. I think there's more to it than that, by all accounts. If you do any research on the background of the show and the development of the show, it seems pretty evident that these Klingons are not typical. So I'm open-minded to finding out why they might look different, but I'm also not demanding of an exact reason, because the Klingons have changed appearance throughout the show. They've evolved, and some more subtly than others. But if Worf doesn't look the same in Encounter at Farpoint as he does at the end of Deep Space Nine. They've refined his look, and it's just part of it. It's just the nature of television. Doing television for such a long period of time, it's unrealistic to think that.
Yeah, we just hope that their culture is kind of similar for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If they're Klingons at heart and they look a little different, I'm down. I'd rather have that than have them look like old Klingons, but they don't act like Klingons.
Yeah. Anything
else stand out to you, Dan? Just in general, like Anything else you wrote down or thought about?
We kind of already talked about the Cage. Like when I first saw the
Hmm.
text, I was like, "Oh, is this gonna be like a Cage remake? Are they gonna kind of somehow tie that into something that happened in the Cage? I don't know." Um, Also, just kind of going back to how it looks, I think in the long run, I think it will help because it's more familiar to people, the newer fans that have been drawn in by the Kelvin timeline.
Yes.
So I think that's I guess that's one good positive of how it looks.
Hmm.
So that's what I just kind of noticed and kind of thought when I saw it. I was like, whoa, you know.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
PJ says they're Game of Thronings, the Klingons.
Maybe a little bit.
uh,
I see where you're coming from.
yeah.
At this point, does it bother anybody that it's set in 23rd century? Like, is anybody really upset, disappointed, angry that it's not post Voyager, post Nemesis? You know, in some capacity, whether or not it's, you know, it could have been 10 years after Nemesis, 50 years, 100 years. Were you really wanting that? And are you still upset about where it's set? Or have you, does it not bother you? I'm curious, Dan. Like, at this point, are you?
I'm not bothered. I'm just excited that there's definitely other possibilities than just the 23rd century.
Mhm.
I'm with you in that I feel like it would be cool to see a Kelvin timeline TV show.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like to see that, but I know I would.
I
Um,
would.
yeah, Rob's saying that he wants a post Voyager series. But not unhappy, just happy to have Trek. And that's how I feel also. I
Yeah.
am happy just to have a new Star Trek for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, if yeah,
Yeah, that's what PJ says. He's
as long
saying
as it's a
it's a
well
well
told
told
story.
story. Yeah, amen,
Yep.
brother.
That's what it's all about. I think the setting is it's big because it's Star Trek. There's lots of options and people have strong opinions, but if it feels like Trek, that's what matters. I mean,
Yeah, I think them putting it in this era, I think they have to definitely follow a lot more
hmm
rules and stuff like that. I mean, post Voyager, you can pretty much do whatever you want, so and it's easier in that
yeah,
regards. But I think, um, yeah, I guess we'll see.
yeah, I agree. Oracle says he's not looking forward to paying for CBS All Access. That's I hear you. Am I like super excited to dish out more money? No. Um,
Especially to CBS, but
yeah, to CBS, they get enough of my money. But
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, we did talk about this, but it's. I'm glad that Netflix is involved to the point where I don't think it's completely dependent on subscriber numbers for CBS All Access. I think they've more than made their money in the international, sales deal to have it distributed on Netflix everywhere else. By everything I've seen with that and articles on Trek Core and Trek Movie and going back a ways when they announced that, it seems to me that well, the article that I read that I'm remembering basically said that basically paid for the show.
yeah,
That was a considerable transaction, like I said before. So I'd be really worried if that wasn't the case. I don't think the show would look as good as it does in the trailer. I don't think we'd have the same production values if it was just CBS doing it for CBS All Access, and I don't think it would be as on secure footing. I don't think it would be on as secure a footing as I think it is now with Netflix kind of involved. Yeah, the Entertainment Weekly said that that desert scene was shot in Jordan, which I had no idea about until I read that. I didn't
which is
know that they.
awesome. Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, if they're flying the whole crew to Jordan, then they definitely have some money
They
to
have
go
some
around.
funds. Funds are not an issue,
Yeah,
and I really don't think they'd be doing it to that extent if they weren't confident,
serious. Yeah, exactly,
really serious about it. Yeah,
exactly.
I think I think it's a really good sign. And like I said early on too, I was almost as excited about that the news that they upped it from 13 to 15 episodes as I was about the trailer itself, because that to me told me that they're happy with it and that they're confident it's going to be good and they're willing to spend more money. You know, that the way that show looks based on the trailer, these episodes are not cheap. I don't know the exact number. You know, I don't know how much the season's costing, but
You
it's a
want
chunk
to
of
know,
change.
but yeah,
Um, and those two episodes are going to cost some money. So that told me that CBS and Netflix and whoever's making decisions on those kinds of things.
yeah, because they would be investing all this, this money and these resources if they didn't believe in it. So
No.
to see that they're doing that and showing them out the funds to do it, I think it's a good sign for sure.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't just add. They didn't say, "Oh, we'll do more episodes in season 2 if season 1's a hit." You know, no. They before it's been seen, they added hours and spent more money.
Mhm.
Oracle likes the outfits. He likes the costumes.
Yeah,
We're with you, Oracle.
love those
We're both.
uniforms.
Yep.
Enterprise esque to me
Hmm.
a little bit. I mean, just the color, I guess.
It is. I mean, it's the blue kind of jumpsuit looking thing with like the divisions being expressed in like
Stripes,
stripes.
colors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Instead of bold,
yeah.
it's. I think it looks good.
Hmm.
And again, it's not like it's the first time we've seen uniforms that have that sort of vibe of Enterprise, of course, but the motion picture uniforms are not, you
Hmm.
know, color of a division. The Wrath of Khan through Undiscovered Country movie uniforms are all red with
Yeah,
very subtle division identification. Um, I didn't even know what it was until a couple of years ago. I didn't figure it out that this color was this color was that on the collar. I didn't even notice. So it's not the first time that Star Trek has identified its uniforms not by like an expressed like bold primary color. Yeah, and the transport effect, we didn't see it was very brief. I really liked the grid line like
hmm,
look of it. I thought that was really cool.
yeah.
What little we saw, but I don't think any of these effects are totally done. This show doesn't premiere for another 3-4 months. So I think it's fair to expect. I remember the first trailer. If you go back and look at the first trailer of Beyond, and you look at a lot of the visual effects, and look at the movie, they look different. I mean, they clearly are not done. That's maybe my biggest takeaway. This is a tease. It's not a direct lift from the show. It's not in context. There's a lot we don't know, and there's a lot we haven't seen.
But I think it was necessary though because people, I think, feel like fans
Oh
were
yeah,
getting impatient for
absolutely,
sure.
definitely. They needed to do something.
The
They needed
hour's
to
still
start ramping
alive
this
over
up.
here.
Yeah, exactly. People were panicking.
Yeah.
There were people who I don't know if they were trolling or joking, but the thing you keep seeing on a lot of the forums and stuff is, I don't believe the show's even being made. I thought they weren't really doing it. Like they needed to push back against that and show that this thing's coming, and they did. Badly need. They need to ramp it up. They really need to keep going. I think like not something every day, but don't be afraid to leak stuff. Not leak, but get stuff out there. Show us pictures. Get people really on board with this. Oracle, you've touched on a a controversy with people. There are going to be people who disagree with you on that. Um, I don't have a strong opinion really on is the view screen a window or a holographic, image. Um, I hear both sides. I think it's been depicted as both at various points throughout
Yeah,
the
'cause that's what
franchise.
I thought. I thought it was they're taking a page out of the Kelvin timeline with kind of the both.
Yeah,
Because in the Kelvin timeline, isn't it a window and a display?
yeah, it's a window that can display.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge window. It does appear to be huge. Um, People hated the Kelvin Bridge window.
They're gonna love this one. uh,
I think you're right on, Nick or Ian. I think that's what you're going to see. I think the hologram. You kind of see it in the graphics already, in what you'd see in the trailer. That it looks like the way they're magnifying on whatever they're finding, whatever Klingon thing they found, is very much like holographically done. Like there's graphics involved. Uh, what do we think the role of the Shinzu ship, the role of Shinzu as a starship is? Looks more militaristic than an explorer.
you
It
could
does
say
have a
that about
military vibe.
you could say that about the NX though. It looks a little bit
Hmm.
more militaristic.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, yeah, I think it looks more certainly looks more militaristic than the Constitution class Enterprise does.
Yeah.
Um, but
To me, it was just the Shinzu was a lot more rough and had bumps and ridges and
mhm,
modules and stuff like that. And then kind of the more exploratory ships are just more smooth and more
graceful.
refined and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how it compares to the Discovery. If the Discovery kind of retains its smoothness or it um, gets goes to
Hmm.
space dock and gets a refit.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how they compare. Like if both ships survive the pilot or early in season one and they're both involved somehow, you know,
Hmm.
um, the differences and are they two totally different sets or is it a redress of the same set and are they going to be kind of like the same deal? There's so many questions, so many things that we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you
If
could.
you think about it, we didn't see the title ship in the trailer. you know,
Yeah.
I there's going to be a lot of Star Trek Discovery that takes place on the Discovery, I would imagine, and we didn't see it at all. So there's a lot left to be seen.
Yeah. PJ, you could just go. You could play what ifs all day because you could
Mhm.
like maybe the Discovery is a new because in the trailer it's like, oh, we got to talk about your new having your own command, and maybe the
Mhm.
Discovery's a new ship, they need a commander, and then it's just you could play what if all day.
Mhm. When the trailer first started and they were showing that like them in the desert and talking the way they were, my initial reaction was my what if scenario initially was that it was going to be in like two different time frames. Like the stuff with the Shenzhou with Michelle Yeoh was going to be taking place years in the past, and the Discovery stuff was going to be like the contemporary part of the show, and it would be like done in flashbacks. But it still may be, but I doubt. I don't think the trailer indicated that at all. But when the trailer first started, and I was like literally just in that first scene, that's what initially popped in my head. This is going to be like a story within a story type of deal. Um, but just to illustrate Dan's point of, you know, you can play what ifs all day. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many possibilities, and we just don't know. It's going to be something that none of us guess.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But PJ, what you're saying there is what I would if I had to bet money on this. That's probably what I would say
Yeah.
is that the Shenzhou does not. It runs into some serious problems with the Klingons and the pilot is what I would bet in the Discovery. Saves the day and rescues those who survived the encounter, and they're off on a mission.
Yeah. Rob's pointing out something about the Delta Flight. I hope they poke like they have little hints of little things from the canon in this show. I'm guessing they will because
They will.
they will. So I'm really excited to see stuff like that.
Yeah. I hope they do that, but I hope they do it tastefully. I hope it's not.
Not just full of it, but
Yeah.
just little
Don't.
subtle things
Yep.
like Beyond.
Here and there, like Beyond did. Exactly. I think they did it perfectly.
Yep.
If it's in that same spirit, it'll be great.
Yeah, I ripped my shirt again.
Yeah. Yep. Stuff like that is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point, Rob. Yeah. It looked to me. That's what I took away from it. That they were in some dire straits, and there were going to be consequences to whatever happened. Because yeah, it looks like multiple Klingon ships are coming in there, and they're not in a talking mood from what we're gathering. Oh, and one of the other things I wanted to kind of point out, because I've watched the trailer a million times, and I think the lens flare comment that I've seen. Nick, I don't think Nick's in here anymore, but he had pointed that out. You know, it seems like there's that shot of the crew reacting to something very loud, like they're hearing something, like something happens, and they're distressed, and there's very bright light coming into the bridge. You know, so I think there's a story reason behind why it's so bright on the bridge at that time. Mm-hmm. I don't think, maybe I don't know. I have a hard time believing that you're going to be looking at constant lens flares in Discovery, but I think there's a reason why, story wise.
Yeah.
Rob, what I thought of when she said, "Contact Starfleet Command, we have engaged the Klingons," is Captain Picard says, "Contact Starfleet Command, we have engaged the Borg," in The Best of Both Worlds, like word for word. It is like the exact line.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time believing it. I think Brian Fuller wrote the pilot. I would bet money that was intentional. He knew exactly what he was doing with that line.
Yeah, Jordan's asking, can we tell how long characters will last based on their IMDb? That's an interesting point because we have looked at it and it says like, some people have 9 episodes, other people have the full.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it can't. Isn't IMDb kind of like Wikipedia where it can be edited by community contributors? So it's not
100% reliable.
Isn't 100% reliable. It's definitely not concrete and set in stone. It's
Dan and I spent about an hour when I was in Florida on vacation.
Yeah.
Looking at the IMDb page for Discovery and talking about that exact thing. Looking at episode counts and stuff.
Yeah, because we like kind of to look up the kind of behind the scenes people, like the editors and the cinematographers and stuff like that. So.
Yep. Thanks for coming, Ian. Appreciate it, man. Hopefully we'll see you this weekend.
Yeah, for the main show.
Yep.
Thanks for coming.
PJ is asking about Michael's past on Vulcan. We did talk about that too, but to summarize, it does. Dan and I both think it seems pretty apparent that she grew up on Vulcan and is dealing with, some demons from perhaps being othered while, growing up there. Mm-hmm. Very Spock-esque.
Yeah, which it's been in Star Trek since its conception. So we're glad. We were happy that was in there for sure.
Yeah, very encouraging. PJ, that's possible. I don't know, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know that. But I would be surprised. I don't get the vibe from following Chris Obie that he's done. I got the vibe that he's done for a bit, but maybe coming back. Which tells you that these episodes are not, and I kind of remember Brian Fuller talking about this, that it would be a big story and that it would be like an ongoing serialized story in a big way, but that the episodes would have their own personalities and that they would be somewhat episodic. You know, they're all linked, but it's not one continuous 10-part, 13-part, 15-part episode. And the fact that, you know, some of these actors who are Klingons in the pilot or early in the show, I don't know how many episodes it lasts, are not seemingly filming now. You know, Harry Mudd is in it, and at some point. So I think we're going to see a variety, which is encouraging to me. I've talked a number of times about that. I love Star Trek can do anything. It doesn't have to be one thing. And what we've seen so far, you know, either through the trailer we always see is one episode, but what we know about Discovery, if you follow along with the little kernels of information that get out, is that it's not going to be so serialized that there's no variety. Yeah, Jordan, could be. I don't.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, I hope so. I want variety. That's kind of important to me. I love that Star Trek can do all these different things. I like that I like the idea of tuning into a show and really not knowing what to expect. You know, as good as some of these other shows that are big. I've said this before, but you know, when you tune into Game of Thrones or you tune into The Walking Dead, you tune into Breaking Bad, you know exactly what you're turning the TV on to watch. And that, when Star Trek: The Next Generation was on, and all those shows, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, you didn't know that. If you didn't watch the promo and you didn't read what the episode was going to be about, when you turned it on, you didn't know if you were going to get a romantic comedy or a big science fiction action story or, you know, a Western. You just didn't know. It could do anything. And I love that. And I hope that Discovery can maintain at least some of that. And it sounds like they are going to. You know, do you think Harry Mudd fits into the story that you see playing out in the pilot based on what you see in the trailer? He could, but
maybe at the end. Or, I don't know. Who knows?
My instinct is that Harry Mudd fits into it in a completely different way. You know,
Yeah.
When he comes in, it's going to look different. So,
Yeah. PJ's talking about the Andorians and the Corn. Definitely like the species that are kind of surrounded with the aliens that we have seen. I would love to see them kind of get entangled in. I really just want like a guy in like an old school Gorn costume to run across the screen.
I would be down.
Yeah.
I would be. Sign me up.
Yeah. Time travel. That's yeah. I'm guessing that's always kind of been Star Trek's thing is, but if they do it right, I hope. Not like some.
Yeah, as long as it's not overused.
Yeah.
If it's tastefully done and it's it's just all in moderation. It's
Not Enterprise.
yeah. I'm not looking for
Yeah. The Temple of Cold War.
Yeah, driving force of the show is time travel. No, I really don't want that. You know, but hey, if you're going to bring time travel into it and you want to do something as cool and great as The City on the Edge of Forever, go right ahead. You know, if you got a good idea and it needs time travel and it's a good story, it's a good Star Trek episode, you know, by all means. Andorians are in the Federation, so they should be present. Yeah, I think we'll see Andorians. That would surprise me if we didn't. I've seen people speculate. Did anybody? I don't know if you saw it, Dan, but did you see what Jason Isaacs posted and had taken down very quickly?
What did he post? Maybe I'm just forgetting.
He posted a video of himself in a makeup chair being like casted with like some sort of I don't know. Evidently, he's being fitted for some sort of a makeup thing.
He's gonna have a cameo.
What's that?
Is he? Wait.
Jason Isaacs, who plays
Oh,
the
okay.
captain at the
Yeah, yeah,
Discovery.
yeah. So he'll
So
be,
perhaps not human.
yeah,
And one of the first things that we kind of saw way back when Brian Fuller was still running the show is he posted a picture of what looked like antenna from probably an Andorian.
oh
Um,
yeah, I remember that.
yeah. So, who knows? Maybe the captain of the Discovery is an Andorian. For all we know, we don't. Who knows? Lorca. That we talked about this, Dan. I think just you and me when we were talking. But Lorca, the captain of the Discovery, that could be anything. That
Yeah,
isn't necessarily a human name.
anything.
Any other thoughts, anybody? Anything else come to mind? Hopes, fears? Did it make you more excited, less excited? Dan, what about you? Like,
Um, Nothing that I can. I don't know. It's kind of already been said.
mhm.
I mean, I think it did its job. It left people wanting more. Um,
The Klingon cult claws. Rob's asking about. I think that was only in the Netflix. Did you watch the Netflix trailer, Dan?
no, I just watched the
Slightly different.
CBS.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing with it's cut differently. Um, it's it's got like one or two other shots, different shots of the Klingon costume basically,
Mm,
and that's what Rob's alluding to. There's a shot of like I don't know a glove, something that this Klingon has. It looks like claws.
yeah.
It looks cool. It looks like a cool costume.
Yeah. Trek Core just retweeted this tweet from Ben Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
And
He runs.
it's yeah, and it's a concept drawing of a Klingon. So you should guys definitely go look at it because it does look familiar. I'll just say that. But it says it's from 1978, so I think they're definitely drawing from past concept.
Just like they did with the Discovery itself,
Discovery, yeah, I was just gonna say.
which I think is pretty cool. Like
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to that at all. Like it's not like they're just pulling something out of their butts and just doing something completely different. They're going back to what was being toyed with is like the idea to expand it back then. Like at the initial point where Star Trek was being advanced.
yeah.
From the original series.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, Rob. General Chang looks different than Worf and
Yes.
and Krug from the Search for Spock.
Yep.
Like this is not the first time the Klingons look a little different.
Mm-hmm.
There was a really good Twitter thread that um, I'm pretty sure his name's Alex Perry. I've interacted with him many times. He's a good guy. Posted talking about the Klingons and reasoning that exact thing. The Klingons have evolved over time, and he said it better than I could. So if you can find it, you know, check it out and like it because he's right on the money as far as I'm concerned. Look at us go.
Yeah, we definitely have covered a lot.
Yeah,
Definitely don't let the discussion stop here. Definitely come over to Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff, and continue it. So don't let. I'm guessing just because it's still a prevalent topic, we're probably still going to cover some thoughts in
Hmm.
kind of the main show, but the main show is going to be kind of focused on bromances. So now we're starting to get into the episodes where we're definitely kind of focusing, putting out some stuff from the Trek universe under the microscope and being really hyper focused. So we're definitely really
Right.
excited to do that.
Yep. Yeah. That's one of the reasons we're excited about Trek After Dark is that we have this ability. And this week it was really focused. This could have been, a topic discussion, but naturally,
Exactly.
yeah, that's going to naturally happen when there's big discovery news. But this is an outlet for us to do this and talk about, um, whatever's happening in the world of Discovery without it, you know, taking away our ability to focus in on the Trek that we've had for the last 50 years. Um, with Trek Live, and I'm sure in Trek Live we'll um, talk about Discovery, like Dan said, either in an intro or just touch on it, or we'll have topics that
Yeah.
relate to Discovery. But this is where you're going to see a lot of current, as it's happening, Discovery talk. Wow, really, Rob? Which Trek FM show did that? Just out of curiosity, I didn't notice. Did you notice, Dan? I know you're
um, no, I
pretty
just watched
devoted.
a Warp 5 episode, or not watched, listened to one last night, and they weren't talking about bromances. They were talking about they had a kind of a new person on there that's from literary tracks or something like that, and
Mm.
they're just kind of interviewing him and stuff like that. But this it was
Okay.
kind of like the first or second episode that I listened to.
Hmm.
Bishay is savage. That's all I have to say.
I need to go back and delve into some more. I've been sadly pretty disconnected from some of the Trek FM shows lately. Just
Yeah.
life. I'm way behind. Uh, I got to get back and get caught up because
Oh
I
yeah.
love I love their stuff.
Yeah. Today's Thursday at Two of the Journeys, and there's a new one I didn't look at, but I'm kind of winding down onto the journey because I'm moving on to Warp
Five.
5.
So it was an older one, Rob. Like it was an episode from '78. They're well into,
Yeah, they're
aren't they?
200
Like the,
and
yeah.
some.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
All right, guys, probably gonna start winding her down. If you guys don't have any further questions, I think today went really well. I think we had a really good discussion. Um,
I agree.
we kind of kicked the technical difficulties bug.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of glad everything kind of went really smoothly. We had a great conversation. I'm glad um, all you guys showed up.
Had some new faces.
Yep, some new people in here.
Appreciate you guys stopping in. Um, Yeah, Jordan, just to answer your question real quick before we head out, that's the beauty of it. They could do anything. There's so many possibilities. Anywhere in the timeline, hopefully Discovery is just the beginning of, the new golden age of Star Trek.
Mm.
If it's a success and it's big and it generates interest, it
Star Trek Reborn
should be Star Trek Reborn.
or
Yeah, it should.
revitalized or something.
Yeah, it should keep it around and revitalize it, and we should see plenty more. And CBS All Access, I'm sure, is very anxious to fill its queue
Yep.
of with content. And if Star Trek's a success, I'm sure they'll be all over it. So might not have to wait that long for more. I don't know how Paramount feels about it. I don't know how Paramount feels about the Kelvin timeline right now. Their chaos that's seemingly happening, changes in management and such.
Yeah.
So, Discovery is coming at the perfect time.
Yep.
All right. Well, like Dan said,
Yeah.
I thank everybody for coming and making it a good conversation. You know, it feels good to be talking about new Trek coming, and I'm really excited for you guys, Dan, Jordan. I know Rob. I think even for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe not, but definitely Dan and Jordan. Your opportunity to watch Star Trek live, like as it's happening,
Yeah.
a new Trek, is really exciting, and I'm thrilled to get to see you guys do that, and yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, so we'll see you guys on Saturday for another episode of Trek Live. I think it's 9 or 10.
Yeah, I think it's episode 9.
9.
It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for thanks for tuning
Tuning
in.
in.
Definitely like, comment, and subscribe. Down below, all our information's in the description. The discussion doesn't have to stop here. Definitely come over to Twitter and Facebook and continue the discussion. We'll see you guys later.
Yep. 3 o'clock, Dan. Saturday.
Yes, Saturday at
3 noon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, Dan, Jordan. 3 o'clock for us.